Welcome to the O'Connor Elder Law channel. I'm your host, Melissa O'Connor. I'm a Florida-based elder law attorney who does estate planning, focusing on long-term care needs, commonly referred to as Medicaid planning, and I do probate, and I do it well. Today I wanted to talk to you about the concept of a step-up in basis, but before I do, I wanted to invite you to schedule a free strategy session with me at eldermeeting.com. So many times people hear the words step up in basis as some sort of concept regarding tax, and they don't really understand what does that mean. So the concept of step up in basis, it is a rule that adjusts the tax burden on inherited properties. So instead of the property being valued at the time of purchase for purposes of calculating capital gains, the value will be based at the time of death, at the time that you inherit the property. So let's just put this into a hypothetical with some numbers so that way it might make sense to you. So let's just imagine that your mom purchased a property, right, her home, way back in the 70s or 80s, and she only paid like $30,000 for this property, right? So fast forward, for this example, your mom has to pass away, unfortunately. So at the time of her passing, now her home is worth $300,000, right? And so you might be concerned, oh my gosh, there's been this huge increase in the value. I'll have to pay capital gains on all that difference, right? The difference between $300,000 and $30,000. This is where the concept of step up in basis comes in. Instead of having to pay capital gains on that difference, we set the value of the property at the time your mother passed, which was the value was $300,000. So now you don't have to pay capital gains if you were to sell this property for any amount over the increase of $300,000. So if you sold it right at market value at the time that you inherited, you just flip it right away for $300,000, zero capital gains, right? You don't have to pay any tax because that was the tax basis due to the step up in basis. Say you held on to the property for maybe 5 years and it went up and now it's worth $350,000, right? So you have a capital gains of $50,000, which in theory you would pay tax on, right? It's probably, practically speaking, under the exclusion, but nonetheless, for the purposes of step up in basis, your capital gains would only be $50,000 based off of that example. I hope that these hypotheticals help you understand the concept of step up in basis and how it works to lessen the tax burden on inherited properties, so that way you do not have to bear a capital gains tax on properties that you inherit. If this information has been helpful to you, I ask that you like and share with others. And as always, thank you for joining me.